You are listening to I Survived the Wild Outdoors podcast, where real outdoors men and women share their heroic tales of survival. I'm your host, Brad Mathewson, and this is their story. Hello, everyone. Today, we're catching up with a returning guest, Jeff Broxma from Wisconsin. Some of you might remember from episode 41, Crossbow Safety. Well, Jeff's back. And this time, he's got a story that's a little less about crossbows and a lot more about a brush with danger, quite literally. Just last week, Jeff was out in the woods, clearing brush for a new deer hunting stand he's building, when something unexpected happened. After spending hours on his knees, working through thick undergrowth, he noticed a red bump in his knee later that evening. It had a hole in the center, was swollen, and oozing clear fluid. By the next morning, things had taken a turn. Blistering, throbbing pain, and signs of tissue damage. Classic symptoms of a Brown Recluse spider bite. Here's the kicker. Brown Recluse spiders aren't considered native to Wisconsin. According to the state DNR, there's no established reproducing population in the state. They call these spiders hitchhikers, usually brought in from other states where they're native, like South Central Midwest, with their range typically ending around mid-Illinois. Jeff says he never felt the bite, which is actually common with these spiders. There's no antivenom, and in his case, the wound had become infected, requiring a hospital visit and antibiotics. Today, Jeff shares exactly what had happened, how he's recovering, and what he wants other hunters and outdoor folks to know, especially as fall hunting season gets underway. Hello, Jeff. Can you tell us what happened that day?
All right. Thanks, Brad. I didn't know I'd be back on another podcast, but usually your shows are about somebody who has some misadventures in the wild, and I've had another one, but it's probably a good topic that people should know about. Way different than the first one where I injured my thumb with my crossbow, but this one was a severe spider bite that I got while I was out in the woods building a deer stand. I was bitten by a Brown Recluse spider, which are in Wisconsin. There's not thousands of them. They're more prevalent in the southern states and stuff, but they're definitely up here, as I found out after my bite. Other people that I know who've had a similar situation, but I was building a deer stand on my property. There's a place on my property where it's a real overgrown fence line, a real wide fence line, and there's a lot of box elder trees and stuff there and just a lot of other brush. And it's a nice place where the deer come out of the marsh and head up the fence line towards my woods. And it's a nice place to sit until the fall progresses and all the leaves come off the trees. And then whether you're in a ladder and a climber or anything else you try to do there, you stick out like a sore thumb. So I came across some telephone poles when the utility crew came down the road, and they left a few at my daughter's place up the road. So I used some of these telephone poles and I brought them down into the marsh by this fence line. And my plan is I'm going to put the 4 poles in the ground, and I'm going to put them in the ground like 3 feet. They were 11-foot poles, and I'll have 8 feet out of the ground, and I'm just going to square them up nice and build a deck up there with treated plywood and then some rubber roof material over top that, so they'll last a long time and won't be damaged by the elements. And I didn't want to build a stand that was a big old box stand all with a bunch of plywood cobbed together or something. And so I decided to just do the platform and put one of those pop-up blinds on there where you can see out of the blind 360, but you can't see in them. And I thought I'll put the blind up there, a little while before bow season, leave it in through hunting season. And that way, if I want one of my grandkids to go out with me, or if my daughter or son-in-laws want to go out there with their kids, my grandkids, they can have a kid in the stand without having to, worry about moving around and stuff. And it also will conceal me then on the fence line where normally you're really visible if you're up in the tree. So I went down there to put these posts in the ground, and I had the post I brought over with my gator, and I had my battery operated power tools and stuff, and I had to get into the into the fence line. I had to find a good access point because it was really thick, and I found this one spot I decided to go in at, and there was like one of these briar bushes in there, and that was the best place to go. So I took my little nippers, and I'm cutting branches out of the way to clear a path in. I had been scratched once years ago on a public hunting ground when I was dragging out a big buck I had shot in there, and I got some bacterial infection from these prickers and got really bad blood poisoning. And long story, and maybe that's another episode, but I was going to be leery to not scratch myself with this bush, so I cleaned a bunch of the branches out and got them out of the way. And then I got in there, and there was part of an old down tree in there that I had to start moving, and there was a lot of bark and stuff on the ground and other just forest litter, leaves and twigs and branches and stuff. So I'm trying to clear out my footprint to do these 4 telephone poles. And it was hot, so I'm in shorts and a T-shirt with a lot of bug spray on because the bugs got bad here late in the summer. And I was on my hands and knees moving some of this stuff, pulling some of these little trees out of the ground, trying to get them out by the roots. And I don't know when I got bit by the spider, but I would imagine it had to happen that the spider was in them bark pieces and stuff that were all kind of stacked up below this tree. It would be a great hiding spot for these things. They're called Brown Recluse spiders because they are reclusive. They hide. They don't just put a nest, a web up where you're going to see them sitting in their nest or their web waiting for something to come by. They hide in places and generally like warm, dark places and dry places. So I assume it happened when I was on my hands and knees, either moving that stuff or I moved the stuff and I was down on the ground doing I was kind of using the ground almost as a sawhorse when I did some of my cuts for my boards that were going to be my deck up on these poles. And I had been working on the stand the majority of the day, and I had scratched myself up going in and out and dragging these branches and that, which was not a big deal or anything. And finally, it got to be 3 p.m. or so, and I had to wrap things up to go for my golf league. So I packed up my stuff and brought my tools to the house, took a shower, got over to the golf course and did a round of golf, and then was sitting in the clubhouse having a couple of beers afterwards. And I noticed, we were just talking, but I could feel something down below my kneecap on my right knee. And I reached down and I feel it was a little scab or something. So I think I scratched it, and I realized right away that it's leaking a little bit of something, but I'm not making a deal with it because it really didn't seem like nothing. And I rubbed on a little bit until whatever was draining out of it kind of quit, and sat there a little while longer, had a couple beers, and didn't think nothing of it. I came home that night because I had a fantasy football team I needed to manage, so I had to watch Monday Night Football. And I was home alone because my wife was gone on a cruise with her sister again. And this will sound repetitive from the last episode I was on, because a couple of years ago when I had my crossbow incident, she was also on a cruise with her sister. But I'm kicking back, watching the game. Eventually the game's done. I go to bed later and wake up in the middle of the night because I had rolled around or something, and I bumped my leg. And it just hurt like crazy, and it woke me up. And I thought, what the heck is this? So I got out of bed, went in the bedroom, turned the light on, trying to adjust my eyes and see what's going on. And I look at below my kneecap, and I've got it was almost like it's swelled, and there's kind of a bump that's coming to a point. It's like really red and inflamed looking. And it seems like it had like a hole on the top, which I assumed that was from me scratching it in the bar. I assumed I got poked with one of those prickers or something, and maybe I had a piece of something in there or whatever. But it honestly looked like a great big horrible pimple or something. So I tried to squeeze on it, thinking it's probably going to explode, but it wasn't. It just squeezed it and blood would come out and this clear fluid. And I squeezed it for all I'm worth, and then I had to finally quit because it was so inflamed and hurt so bad. And I went back to bed and woke up in the morning, and I'm retired. And my wife's gone. So I'm up and doing things at my own pace. And I got up in the morning, and it's hurting worse. It's more inflamed. Again, I tried to squeeze on it, but nothing's happening except this fluid's coming out this hole on the top and a little bit of blood. And I wanted to go out and work on my stand again. So I threw a Band-Aid over it, a big Band-Aid over it. And I went out there and I'm starting to build this deck and stuff, and finally got those boards and stuff set. And I got my plywood up there, and my leg is starting to hurt so bad that when I tried to go up and screw down the plywood to the trusses or whatever, I can't kneel down. I can't do nothing. My knee is starting to like lock up and stuff. And I thought, what the heck do I have? I must have some kind of infection or something. My leg is starting to ache above my knee, below my knee. My knee is getting to where it's stiff, where I can't bend it very good. And I thought, pretty soon I'm going to fall off this platform. So I better just call it a day. And I got down. I had one of my grandkids was getting dropped off on the school bus at my place. I live out in the country, and I was going to watch him after school that day. So I thought I'm going to call the clinic in town, my regular doctor, and see if they could possibly get me in. So I'm home alone. I don't want to have some major infection where I got a problem in the middle of the night. So I called them, and the regular doctor's on vacation, and the two physician's assistants are just booked. They can't squeeze anybody in this afternoon. So I'm like, okay. And I said, how about tomorrow if I wait till tomorrow morning? And they said, we are essentially overbooked tomorrow too. We really can't. We think maybe if this is serious enough, you should go to urgent care. So I said, yeah, I'm probably going to. So I hopped in the shower, and then I went down to the road to pick up my grandson when he got off the bus, and informed him we're not going on a gator ride like we do every night after they get off the bus. Sometimes it's one grandkid, sometimes it's three. But I said, we got to go to the doctor. Grandpa's got to get his knee looked at. There's something wrong. So we went to urgent care, and not busy or nothing. And they checked me in and asked what I thought it was. And I really did not know. I thought potentially I poked myself with one of those pricker bushes, and my body don't like those things, and I'm going to have a reaction again. I didn't know. But I got into a room then after just 15 minutes or so. It was not busy at all. And the doctor came in, and he does what a lot of doctors do. He came in the room. He never put on a glove or nothing. I really tried looking it over or getting real close. He just rubbed his chin a lot, and I kind of explained that I was in the woods and crawling around. I got other scratches on my legs and stuff too, and hands from being out there. And I said, I don't know. It seems like it's really infected. It really hurts. And he's like, is your leg warm? And I said, no, it's not really warm, but the pain is like shooting down and up my leg, and it's getting hard to bend my knee, and you can obviously see the inflammation. And he said, I'm going to get you on some antibiotics. So that's what he did. He prescribed 2 heavy-duty antibiotics, and he said one's 2 times a day, one's 4 times a day. Take 2 of them right away, each kind, and then later tonight, try to get one in before you go to bed. So I got to the pharmacy in the hospital, got the pills, go home, still no idea what's going on. I just assume I got an infection somehow. And went home. I'm home alone again that night. So I sat in the chair and was going to watch TV, and I started getting the chills. And I'm getting chills really bad, and I'm freezing. This was an 80-degree day. I finally have to get up. I turned off the air conditioning on the furnace, and I changed it to heat and cranked it up to like 80 degrees. I am just freezing, and I went and got a sweatsuit on, sweatshirt, hat, pulled out some hunting socks, and I got a blanket, and I curled up on the chair. And not only do I have these amazing chills, but my body is aching everywhere. I felt like I had fallen down a mountainside or something. Just everywhere, my entire body aches. And I'm like, what is going on? I think eventually I am going to die one of these times. She's gone on a cruise. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Doesn't pay to go to the hospital or something. I'm not, it's not a life-threatening thing as far as I can tell. So I stayed up fairly late, make sure I got the second dose of that one antibiotic in. And then I thought, well, I got to go to bed. And I went to bed and eventually fell asleep. And then I slept quite a while and woke up at like 5 in the morning. And when I come to my senses, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm home alone here. And and I got this knee thing. So I got up to go in the bathroom, and I noticed right away that the inflammation's way down. I don't have it feels like your skin's going to explode because it was so puffed up. And I got in the bathroom, and I sat down, and I lifted my leg up, and I could see that the inflammation was way down, but I also noticed something else right away, which is completely different. I've got a circle between the size of a quarter and a 50-cent piece, right where at the site of the bite, which I still did not know was a bite. And it is just dark gray, like completely dead flesh. And it's about the thickness of if you had probably 3 or 4 quarters stacked on top of each other. Not too high, maybe not even quite a quarter inch, something like that. But I can see the hole in the middle of it. And then I can see this just dead skin. And you can see the flesh, not just skin, it's like thick. There's flesh that's dead there. And I thought, what in the heck is this? So I got my phone out. And I don't usually Google stuff. I like to search things and not have them censored. So I usually do DuckDuckGo or something. But Google's got that Google Lens. Take a picture of something, a plant or anything in the world, and it'll pretty much tell you what it is. So I take the camera with Google Lens and I take a picture of this, and then it pops up, Brown Recluse spider bite. Every picture, every image looked just like it. And I'm like, wow, what is a brown recluse spider? I've never heard of them. So I took that picture and sent it to my daughters and my wife. And one of my daughters replied right back, it's a spider bite. It is a brown recluse spider bite. One of my friends from college, her mom had that, and it was really bad. She got really sick and stuff. It looked just like that, same thing. So I did more Googling and figured that all out, that is indeed what it was. And I'm trying to decide how serious it is or what I should do. And they say that there's not like an anti-venom for it. They call it a venom that it injects in you. But you do have to get it taken care of right away. And I guess that doctor, by prescribing the antibiotics, that was pretty much the course of action that most doctors would take to try to kill the infection. So that was a good thing that I did go in with it right away, because who knows what might have happened in the middle of the night. And then my doctor's office called. They must have just got in the office at like 7:30 in the morning, and they must have got the report that I had been into urgent care being one of their patients. And they asked if I was okay, if I was having what the symptoms were. And then I told them about what had happened. So they asked me to email them a picture. So I emailed them a picture, and they said, sure enough, that's what you got. And they asked me to come in and see him, but I still couldn't see him today either, because they were that day on Tuesday, because they were booked. But they got me in the next morning right away. And by the next morning, it was draining constantly, and the skin was getting like really loose and almost detaching near the edges. So the physician's assistant that looked at it, she's like, oh, jeepers, I've never seen one of these before, but we've looked it up. We all were looking at your picture, and that sure seems to be what it is. And I says, let's tear that top skin off. It's all dead anyway, that flesh out of there. She's like, oh, I don't think we should do that. I think we should leave it. And I said, well, when I go home, I'm going to cut it off. So she says, are you really? And I said, yeah, I'm going to cut it off. So she says, all right, then I'll do it. And she got a little nippers out and cut the majority of it off, except for the very outer edge of it. And the skin underneath was just bright red. And she goes, that's really good. That means there's blood flow there, and it's trying to heal itself. But it literally ate away all your flesh in that spot where it was. So then I ended up, at some point that day, I put a couple pictures on Facebook, and a lot of people were just grossed out by it and replied just because it was a weird situation. But there was several others that had the same thing. I had one of my cousin's wives. He said that her aunt had it happen to her and didn't take it serious, ended up losing her leg. It had turns out that my brother's wife got one a couple of years ago. They live near Green Lake, and they live in town, and she's out gardening and stuff, but she has no idea where it possibly came from. And their grandson, who lives at a farmhouse, a rural farmhouse in the country in the same area, he had one too, never felt the bite, haven't had any idea where it came from. And one of my hunting buddies, who's also a old high school buddy that's a taxidermist, he got one on a hunting trip where I think he had his foot in a boot, and it got in and it bit him on the leg. And then when he was like pulling his boot off, and then the spider come flying out of there, and his was really bad too, but he got treated. And everybody, I guess, pretty much got treated with the antibiotics. So like I said, I'd never heard of these things before. I mean, you hear black widows and tarantulas and all kinds of stuff like that as far as a nasty spider. But these little buggers, they're not big either. They're about a mature one. I did a lot of research after this happened. A mature adult brown recluse spider is only a little bigger than a quarter. It's got kind of a skinny little body and kind of skinny legs, not like a dandy long legs a little meatier than that, but it's not like a wolf spider or something like that. And it's got a little skinny body, almost like a wasp or something, but it's got some big freaking fangs in the front that get you. And I guess, if you're really, really young, some kids will die from these bites, or if you're older and health compromised already, it can be fatal. Some people die every year from these things. And although they're not real prominent in Wisconsin, they are obviously here. It didn't take long before I had like 5 people from around town in my family that had their own stories about getting bit by these things. So they say they like warm, dry places. These hunting blinds and stuff out in the woods, them are probably prime places for these things to take up residence, where they're out of the elements, and they could be warm from the sun coming in the windows and stuff. But it's something that I'm obviously paying more attention to. I can't imagine it ever happening again. It's one of those strange situations, but definitely something to alert your listeners to and for people to be aware of.
So I guess what's the aftermath now? How long did it take for the wound to heal up and for the symptoms to completely go away?
I would say I've had some more body aches than my normal 61-year-old body aches over the last couple of days, but this is we're recording this on a Thursday now, and the bite would have happened Monday morning or Monday midday sometime in the woods. And so Tuesday or Monday night is when it was the chills and stuff got really intense right after I got onto the antibiotic. I'm probably really lucky I got onto the antibiotic as soon as I did. If I'd have waited till the next day, who knows how much more damage it would have done. So now the dead skin is all gone, and I don't have much of a divot. I know this one guy who said he knows several people down south that have had bites from these things and didn't get to them fast enough, and they actually have like craters into their body part wherever they got bit. It'll like just eat the flesh away, and it'll be like a hole in their skin. So mine, I have to admit right now, looks kind of like carpet burn or something, just kind of bright red where you scrape your knee on the carpet or something. Okay. And it's healing really well right now. It's really good.
So, I mean, is there anything we could do to, besides wearing pants, I guess, in the woods? I mean,
well,
as far as cautious wise in the woods,
one of the things that I notice where people say they like to hide, and they're in people's houses too. There's no doubt about it. And one thing I've already ordered, I've got a bunch of this spray that you can use in house or out of house. I bought a concentrator where I can actually put it in a pump sprayer, and I'm gonna clean out some areas in my basement and spray the crap out of it. I don't want to have them in my house, especially at this time of year. They like warm, dry places, and a house is going to be warmer and drier than out in the woods somewhere. In the summer, of course, these things hunt, and they're not going to find as much game in your house as they would out in the woods. But I would think this time of year would be the kind of place that they might try to venture inside. And they're not an aggressive spider at all. It's like if you corner one or stick your foot in the boot or lay on one or kneel on one or anything else, it's going to bite you just as a defensive mechanism. It's like you can be next to a bee on a flower all day, but try put both your hands on either side of them and see what happens. So as far as stands and stuff, I would think most of the time you wouldn't have any issue. An enclosed box stand out in the woods, that might be a good shelter or something where you might want to look around at the corners and underneath stuff you might have in there. They like to hide. They call them a brown recluse because they're reclusive, and you won't see them in their web out in the open. They're hidden somewhere, and they like to come out at night more, I guess, to do their hunting and stuff. But I never really thought this over to worry about spiders, and I'm way more attentive to it now, I guess, after this happening. But as far as advice to keep someone safe out there, I guess be careful where you sit and what if you've left something in the woods overnight or something where an animal or a spider could have got into, I'd be looking in my gloves or in my boots or any of that kind of stuff. But other than that, I don't know what kind of precautions I would say to take.
So how long basically after the initial bite, and you said you didn't feel any bite, right? Did you feel any prick at all or poke or nothing?
One of the people that replied to my Facebook post is a local guy who got bit, and he said it had happened several years ago. He said, I was in a recliner for 4 days. He said, I was incapacitated. It was just miserable. And he said one of his follow-up replies to people's reactions to this was, forget the word he used, but it's something to do like no feel bite. People say that you don't feel them. You don't know when you got bit by them. And that kind of surprised me. You get bit by a mosquito, you feel it. But this thing, maybe it's the nature of their little fangs they got or whatever. But I assumed that I had a little hole from where I had scratched this little scab or whatever it was. But obviously what was draining the whole time was the hole from his bite where he bit me. Most of the pictures you'll see two little fang marks. But I did enough scratching on it and trying to squeeze it to think it was something else that I probably, made those two bite marks into one hole. But yeah, I'm surprised. But they say you don't feel them. And everybody that I know that got bit, with the exception of my buddy who saw it come out of his boot, and I think bit him up his ankle because it came out of his boot, and I think he smacked it. But otherwise, most people do not know that they got bit or not really know where they got bit. My assumption is it had to be in the woods just for the nature of all that stuff, which would be a prime prime hiding spot. They say like wood piles and stuff. They love that. They love to be in wood piles. And just with all them layers of bark and stuff piled up below that tree that I was getting out of there, I could have exposed them doing that. And while I was crawling around on the ground doing other stuff, that's very well could be when I got bit. But it wouldn't make sense to think that I was bit. You know, the initial or the problems didn't really start where I had the, little pain inflammation that started. Okay, if I got bit during the day sometime on Monday, late Monday night into early Tuesday morning was when I rolled around in bed and bumped it or something and felt it. So if I had been bit very far before that, I think the symptoms would have been coming up a lot earlier than like Tuesday early morning sometime. And then the I guess the sweats and stuff.
Yep.
Were, I don't know, less than 24 hours, but it's pretty fast acting stuff. So I think when you get bit, you're going to start feeling some pretty serious effects within the next 6 hours or so.
And I suppose doctors up here in Wisconsin, we don't get to see venomous spiders at all, because obviously the further north you go, the less things that can hurt you as far as venomous spiders or poisonous snakes. I mean, that's typically, we think of it down south, right? So, I mean,
scorpions, spider ants, some kind of things.
Did the medical team give you any sort of advice, or they just thought the antibiotics they give you was going to cover it? Or, I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is, if it were to happen again, I mean, what was their advice to you, or did they give you any advice?
Yeah, the initial urgent care doctor had no clue and didn't even entertain the notion of a spider bite. And I don't hold that against them, because it's not something they're going to see very much.
No.
But when the next morning, when it really went crazy and the skin just died and I took the picture, then everybody knew. When I sent the one to the clinic and ran up there like, oh my God, sure enough, it's a recluse spider bite. And I think that they were ready for me when I got in there, because they were all talking about it. And I think that they said that you want to stay on the antibiotics. Go do the full 10 days, do them all. Don't go off if you're feeling better or not. So it seemed I think she said right out, there's not any sort of anti-venom for this kind of a bite.
Okay.
So this is what you would do. And they did not try to change they right away looked up what antibiotics they gave me, and they were thumbs up to that. So, whether that doctor had any clue what he was doing, he treated it broadly as an infection, which it was, I guess. The bite caused the infection. So, yeah, I wouldn't like to see what would have happened had I not been treated right away, but I just wonder what would have happened if I had not gone in till another 24 hours, how much that could have progressed, or how sick it could have got, or how much bigger the spot could have got without the antibiotic knocking it back.
I mean, is this going to change the way, you think about going out to the woods or spending time in the woods?
No, it'll never scare me out of there. I'll be more aware of it, especially digging around. I got wood piles here. I got a nice fire pit. We go outside and hang outside. And when I'm in my shed outside too, which is more open, there's all kinds of stuff in that shed. If there's spiders, 100 yards away in my woods, it's possible they could be at my house. It could be in my shed. It could be in my wood piles. So I'm definitely, when I get this spray is, I forget what the actual chemical name is, but it's really, you can spray, and then after it dries, they say it lasts for months, but your animals are good. You can spray it all around your kitchen areas. You don't put it on your food or your utensils or places you're cutting up food, but anywhere around your cabinets or any kind of baseboards around all your windows, they say spray everything. And that's what I'm going to probably do to my house, just because my wife obviously doesn't like the idea that this spider thing happened. So I'm going to spray the crap of my foundation in the house. I bought some great stuff too. That, if there's any little holes where them little bees like to get in the foundation of your house and stuff, I'm going to spray all them things. And I'm going to, like I said, I bought a couple bottles of it that are concentrate that I can practically make about 60 gallons of the stuff with this.
Wow.
And I'm spraying everything. I'm just going to take that sprayer and I'm going to spray the crap out of everything around the house, because I really don't want any of those in the house, because that would be, like you say, they're not, all the readings I've done on it, they are not aggressive. They are not going to come out at night. When you walk into a room, they don't crouch and then start sneaking up on you. They want to be away from you like most other insects. Yep. But if their pressure is threatened or squashed or leaned on or stepped on or something, they're going to try to bite you. That's just natural reaction, So it's not something I'm worried about, but I'm I am definitely going to be more alert. And if I go out in the garage and grab one of my sun hats that I put on when I'm working in the yard and it's hotter, when I'm grabbing some gloves or some boots that I keep in the garage, I'm probably going to whack them all on the ground and shake them out, make sure there's not something in there.
Yeah, for sure. You wonder, in Wisconsin here, like I said, you don't really think of those type of spiders being in here, but with maybe it's because we're buying more stuff overseas and there's more stuff being trucked in all the time, and stuff can get in food, stuff can get in crates. Who knows how that spider got up here? It's not like we had teams of scientists combing the woods looking for this particular spider. I mean, evidently, because I read your podcast or your Facebook post, and I was surprised how quickly it blew up. I even sent you a message like, man, this thing is blowing up. It blew up fast. Yep. Like how many other people were having this type of issue and then sending pictures, and it threw me. That's why I had to contact you again and get you on the podcast, because I couldn't believe I had heard of this spider before, but I knew it is more of a southern spider. And when you showed me, sent the pictures of that dead skin around it, so like just gray dead skin. Yeah, in such a short period of time where it's actually just eating the flesh away. Like that's a telltale sign right there.
Yeah, there was little doubt when the doctor saw that, and every other picture I've seen, there's not like it could have been this or it might have been that or it could have. No, it was this is what it is.
No, so it was that.
There's
for sure.
Probably way more than you think, and I think that they do a really good job of staying away from people. Yep. And it was just wrong place, wrong time, and wrong situation. And who knows? Maybe I'm dragging one of them branches, and he's on the side of that branch, and I have my leg pressed against him or something. So it's very likely that. So obviously I know they're here, so that's why I'm really going to do a bang up job spraying all my basement rafters, and I'm going to spray the crap out of everything, vacuum everything up, and then spray the stuff really good. And hopefully you don't get any in your house. But I think people would. I was actually reading another study about in 2016 in North Carolina. They did a study of 62 houses to see, spiders, what presence of spiders in their house. And this was not this kind. It was all kinds of spiders, and 100%. Every single house they found spiders, and I think the least spiders they found in any one of these houses was 16. So every house had spiders. There was none that they couldn't find spiders. So it's pretty hard to keep a spider out of your house. But these, I think we're lucky that they are named what they are, recluse. They don't want to. They're trying to hide. They're trying to stay away from you. They want to find something to eat in your house. So if you're worried about them in your house, don't have other insects around your house. Keep things clean. Keep things sprayed. Get an exterminator that does the spraying around your house a few times a year. That probably goes a long way into solving this problem. I researched it, and I'm going to use the exact same stuff they use, and I'm going to save myself a whole lot of money, and I'm going to spray it all myself. But I'm obviously my eyes are open to this, so I don't really want to get bit again in the house, outside the house, anywhere. So.
No, thank you for coming on and sharing the story. I mean, it's definitely going to help enlighten some more people out there about this potential problem. I'm not saying that the woods are crawling with these type of spiders out there, but it's just another invasive animal that we see all the time. It's no different than we're starting to see, bigger game animals. We're starting to see mountain lions all of a sudden enter into Wisconsin, which you never would have thought you'd see. You get moose, coming from Canada down here into Wisconsin, and animals move around all the time. Just because it's down south or up north, it doesn't mean it can't be here. I mean, it happens.
Yep. Yeah. It was a surprise, that's for sure. You could have gave me 1,000 guesses, and I never would have guessed that's what it was, just because I'd never even heard of them before. But
no,
things you seek and you shall find, and I found out all kinds of information now.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff Broxma's story serves as an important reminder that no matter how well you know the woods, nature can still surprise you, and sometimes in dangerous ways. Brown recluse spiders aren't considered native to Wisconsin, but confirmed cases like Jeff's do happen. And his recent Facebook post showing the telltale gray bullseye of necrotic skin sparked an overwhelming response. Within an hour, others from across the state shared similar photos and stories, raising important questions about just how isolated these encounters really are. So, Let's talk about what the experts say you should do if you believe you've been bitten by a brown recluse spider. First, wash the area gently with soap and water. Apply a cool compress to reduce swelling and pain, but avoid using heat, which can worsen tissue damage. Do not try to cut the wound, squeeze it, or suck out venom. These are home remedies that can cause more harm than good. Monitor the bite site closely. If you see signs like spreading redness, blistering, tissue discoloration, or increased pain, seek medical attention immediately. Antibiotics may be needed if the wound becomes infected, but remember, there's no anti-venom for the brown recluse venom. Treatment is focused on managing symptoms and preventing further damage. Even if you don't feel the bite, which is common, the symptoms often begin within 2 to 8 hours, and early action matters. If you haven't heard Jeff's previous appearance, go check out episode 41, Crossbow Safety. It's full of practical advice for anyone heading into the woods this season. And lastly, a sincere thank you to Jeff Broxma for returning to the podcast and willing to share this experience so openly. And as always, remember to stay safe out there and enjoy all that Mother Nature has to offer. If you like what you heard today, click the subscribe button to hear more upcoming stories. If you or someone you know have a survival story you'd like to share, contact me at isurvivethewildoutdoors@gmail.com.